Hey everyone's JackelWolf back in the garden again for the weekend of July 7th. Technically this is July 6th. I am going camping this weekend, so I will not have time to do a garden vlog, but I am also lucky enough to have this morning off from work. It is the beginning of the Calgary Stampede. It is the parade day, so my company always gives half days for that, and then we just alternate between working the mornings and working the afternoons. Unfortunately, this year I've got to work the afternoon. Having the afternoon off is obviously the preferred time slot. But regardless, it gives me a chance to do some stuff in the garden. It gives me a chance to get some stuff ready for this weekend, get some videos preset to go up. So I'm looking forward to doing that. I'm actually pretty far ahead of that. I've got a lot of stuff recorded. I just got to get it uploaded. Getting attacked by mosquitoes out here as well. But I thought we'd do a little bit of a poke. It is just me this weekend. Creative Kitty 09 and my wife are gone on their trip to BC. Now, one thing that is always troublesome when Creative Kitty 09 is not here is I do not have her help for harvesting these raspberries and the other stuff in my garden. I can always count on her to come out here on her own and grab whatever it is she wants for whatever concoction she's trying to put together, but she definitely enjoys a little bit of the harvest. Potatoes are doing good. Now, one of the reasons I wanted to get out here early, I should be starting to see some activity from slugs, just from previous experience. It is one thing that tends to infest my my potatoes. Now, I'm not too concerned. I'll set out some beer traps, but I don't see any sign of slugs here. Usually they would still be out at least until the sun comes up. I don't want to set out a beer trap this weekend. It's supposed to be really, really hot, and it's just going to dry out without actually accomplishing much. Looks like the onions are still doing good. Not much to talk about on these guys, although keep in mind that these guys here are what all of these guys here are going to look like next year. So this is my plan. It's a 2-year plan when it comes to my onions. It's worked for me this year. Fingers crossed it's going to work for me next year as well. First pea patch is doing really, really well. I got to get in here, get a little bit of twine just to start holding these guys back up. They're going to start collapsing under their own weight if I don't get something to kind of hold them back with. They like to pull forward towards the sun. The trellis helps, but it's not magic. Beans are looking really, really good. If you've been watching a couple of the episodes, they are coming up quite nice. I thought I would have flowers by this weekend, but it looks like we just got the little flower buds so far. That's what these guys here are. I'm sure by next weekend I'm going to have a couple of those open up. And actually, I wonder if we have... Nothing's jumping out at me for a pea pod yet. So again, probably by next weekend, we might even have a harvest. I believe these were the snap peas, so I'm going to want to harvest them young. The other set I've got over on the other corner over there, they are the, I guess, peas for drying, or more, I guess, the non-pod peas. First set of potatoes, they are really, really filling out. Lots and lots and lots of green here. I'm really, really happy. My impression is that the more green we've got, the more chance that we're going to have some good-sized potatoes. The straw is held up still quite nice. That's where the potatoes are going to form, is in the straw rather than in dirt. Makes it a little bit easier to harvest. These potato flowers have now bloomed. Should be a sign 2 weeks from now I should be having... I could have potatoes. I'm going to leave them in quite a bit longer. It'll probably be August before I start pulling any out. I'll usually wait until the potatoes start dying back, unless I'm absolutely desperate for a potato, and then I might go rooting around inside the straw just to see if I can pull out 1 or 2 loose ones. Carrots, I am disappointed in myself. I have not got in here to weed. It's probably been 3 or 4 weeks. I keep saying I've got to do it. Last couple of weekends have been very wet. Haven't had as much chance to get out here as I would have liked. And I'll be honest with you, weeding is very, very tiresome. It's something I got to get in here and do, especially with the grass. I should have made a little slightly bigger bed of carrots. I'm not going to have as many as I normally do. I usually by now have been pulling some out just as garnishes because they're not very big yet, but they are still super tasty. Still curious about the onions. These are definitely turning out to be like a walking onion. You can see these guys are kind of bending over. I'm going to have to pull. There's one kind of going through the fence there. I'm going to have to pull him out, make sure he doesn't fall back. I'd be interested to try to plant these guys in the fall for next year, kind of see what I get out of them. If they're doing what I think they're doing, we should actually get a pretty decent harvest. There's probably about I'm going to say maybe 18 total. I've got another flower coming up there. We'll have to see. Actually, how is he? What is he coming off? I can't really see with all the pricklies there, but yeah, it'd be interesting to see how these guys do. This guy here has actually put out a flower from one of these guys here, so obviously that's not going to be a good one to plant. None of these guys over here have done that, but I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens. Multiplier onions and garlic. I have been in here harvesting some of the scapes. They are quite nice and quite tasty. I got to get them sooner rather than later because they will get a little bit woody. Garlic is going to be due up to be harvested pretty soon, probably before the end of the month, before the end of July anyways. It just seems to be the way it goes. It is one of the first things to come up in the spring, and is also one of the first things to harvest, but regardless, I still get a pretty good crop out of the garlic. You don't want to leave them too long. If it gets too wet, they will rot in the ground. Now, these peas here did not sprout up like I thought they would. I don't know if this is because I haven't been weeding in here or if they're a little bit shaded because of the currant bushes. From here on down is not my best of garden space because it is so much more shaded than the other ones. But it is good for sort of cool, loving plants. So now that I've got the space dug out a little bit better, I will definitely... oh, look at that. Come on. I got more mosquitoes there. There we go. That's got to be our first pea pod of the season. I'm sure there's like 1 or 2 over on the other plant. They kind of blend in there quite a bit. Actually, there's another one right over here. So that's good to know. So I've got some peas growing on here. We should be getting some beans pretty soon. Lettuce is doing pretty good. Cabbage is doing pretty good. This guy here was dying back. I kind of pulled off some of the dead leaves, hoping he'd come back, and the whole root kind of came out. So I was like, oh, okay, well, obviously something's going on with that. So he is done for. But all these guys here seem to be doing pretty good. I got to get in here and do a good watering before I go on my trip, but I am actually quite happy with how they are looking. So it looks like I'm going to get maybe 5 cabbages, which is good for my first year. Without growing them before, no idea what I am doing. But last but not least is going to be my greenhouse. You can see the tomatoes here are doing really, really well. Rosemary is doing pretty good in the background there. These tomatoes are getting up there. They're almost tall enough for me to just let them start setting fruit. Peppers in the back, jalapenos. You can see there's a fruit right there, or there's a flower right there, so I'm just going to give it a tap. It looks like there's also some little aphids on here. I've got a plan today to spray these again with the soap solution. I did it last weekend, and I'm going to do it again this weekend just to try to get rid of them as much as possible. These guys are doing pretty good as well. They're not growing up quite as quick as I would like, but this guy here, who's the first one I planted, he is also the one that is most infested by the little aphids. So he's due up for another spray You can see here, I don't know if it's going to show up on the camera, but maybe if I get that into the light, you can see just a ton of aphids. I'm hoping that's focusing, but so yeah, a little bit of a soap solution will work on that. It's not supposedly not harmful for the plant, but something I've done before with mixed success. But again, I don't really like to use harsh chemicals, especially on stuff that I'm going to be eating myself. I mean, I'm not a farmer. This is not my livelihood. If my entire crop fails, it's not going to be the end of me. So I can stick with like a natural. I can stick with a natural solution rather than a chemical one. And you know, fingers crossed, I can get something out of it. I'll just end off with the tomatoes. You can see in the background there, I think there's some tomato heads right there, so he should be blooming up probably over the next week. Actually, I see a couple on here. This guy over here, he's going to grow up pretty tall. I don't see any blooms on this side. Oh, this one here you can see is starting to open up. I've got a little bit of yellow showing. Once these guys are open, I'll be coming in here every morning, shaking the plant just to let the pollen, you know, fall down and get that sucker out of there. Let the pollen fall down. Tomatoes and peppers are sort of self-pollinating plants. You might have seen some of my posts on Twitter or on Instagram. I took a spray bottle full of regular kitchen vinegar to these weeds. A lot of them are doing pretty poorly, which is good. I got to give them another spritz today with the same sort of solution. Some of them it seemed to work on better than others. These guys hardly seem damaged at all. But certainly the pricklies, there's a better name for them than that, but that's what I know them by. The grass, not so much either, but I do know that the vinegar is not a permanent solution. But it is one that is fairly natural, and within like 2-3 days, it is, you know, broken down naturally and doesn't stay in the soil. Hey guys, so I figured I'd finish this off in the greenhouse. We started over in the strawberries and raspberries. It makes a little bit more sense to end over here where we finished off the little poke around the garden. That is going to be it for this vlog for the weekend of July 7th, though technically today is July 6th. Thank you for joining me in my garden. I always appreciate any sort of comments or ideas below, anything you see that you got any questions on that I may not have talked about quite as much, or you'd like to see me you know, showcase or, you know, feature in one of these videos, you know, leave a comment below. Please like and subscribe. You can also follow me on Twitter at JackelWolf, and I will see you guys next time. Goodbye! All right.
Yeah, also, let me show you to the staff room.
What's this sign over here? What's this particular sign?
Oh,
right
yeah,
here?
it's the employee of the month.
Oh, that's the employee of the month. Who is the employee of the month this month?
John.
John the bunny was the employee of the month?
Yep, John the bunny.
He was the employee of the month.